But anyway, enough about a big company trying to release a massive cryptocurrency project and getting smacked in the face. Let's talk about Libra. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Basic Podcast. You're listening to our Friday flagship. This is the weekly episode in which we cover the current events and news in the cryptocurrency world. Now, my name is Kareem Baruch, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Brent Philbin.
Weep, 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 woo.
And Adam Ruthless Levy.
Yes, I'm so ruthless. What's up, guys?
How you doing, brother? All right, guys. So we, first of all, happy to be back. I missed last week. I had to take a little cross-country trip, but I got to spend some time with my dad, which was really, really nice. But I'm here back with you guys. I want to hear what's going on. I know we got tons of news to cover. We're going to talk about Telegram. We're going to talk about Nano. We're going to talk about Libra. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. But first, Brent, do we have any updates or anything you want to cover regarding the show? Nope.
We did talk about the only tweet that you've tweeted in the last 6 months last week.
What?
Where you were like, fuck Activision and Blizzard. And you tweet. We were like, look, this story is so big that Kareem tweeted. He hasn't tweeted in 6 months. And I got a notification on my phone that you tweeted. It was like, Kareem Baruch hasn't tweeted in a long time. He just tweeted. Why don't you check it out?
This is why I don't like social media, man. You do one thing and then it's like a thing. Oh man, no, yeah, they were making me pretty upset with that whole thing.
Little update to the to that story. They ended up paying the guy his money.
Yeah, they gave him the money back.
They gave him the money, but he's still banned, but for less time than a year. I think they changed it to 6 months. They released that update on a Friday after 5 p.m., which means they were hoping that it just kind of got swept under the rug. They did not do anything to regain any goodwill as far as I'm concerned, and my stance on Blizzard and Activision is still the same.
Did you see what happened with
fuck them and fuck the Chinese government?
They banned another 3 people in Hearthstone. Yeah. So it's not like they're making it any better.
Yeah. We didn't talk about that last time. So because we were talking about how Gods Unchained went ahead and paid the guy. So now I got double paid, which I'm super happy about. But yeah, there was a group of 3 other streamers that basically just put up a little sign while they were streaming, and now they're all banned too.
Quick, they were in the college, the Blizzard Collegiate League, or something like that as well. And they spoke. I think they might have said something like "Free Hong Kong" or worn shirts like that, and then they got banned. Just kind of crazy.
Which is absurd. So 2 things. First of all, the only way to hit these companies is where it hurts, which is money. So I mean, whatever. I'm never going to buy or spend a single dollar on Blizzard or Activision ever. And the second thing to note, though, is what I liked about Gods Unchained's response is that if a company comes along and says, hey, listen, these guys are bad, but we're good, and we won't do what they're going to do, it's more like PR, and the circumstances can change any moment. So, fast forward 10 years, they're a massive company with hundreds of millions of dollars in contract in whatever country, they'll do it. What I liked about Gods Unchained's response was that they emphasized the fact that they wouldn't be able to do it. That's what decentralization is all about. That's what it's really about. It's not about saying I am more moral than you and I'll do the right thing more than you. It's about saying the structure is designed so that I can't abuse my power because I would inevitably abuse my power if I got too much of it.
Yeah. And also, another plus for Gods Unchained was that they didn't make him sign a deal or something like that to get his 10,000. They were just like, no, you can have it here. They weren't like, yeah, sign with us, come stream with us, and then you get it. They're just like, here, you want it here, it's yours. Take that. Also, you can play in this tournament if you want to.
The one thing I will say, though, guys, about the Hong Kong protest is I feel like none of them are thinking about LeBron. It's really
poor guy.
Nobody's thinking about LeBron's financial incentives here, and I don't know. Yeah. I feel like Hong Kong should apologize to LeBron. That's just my opinion.
What I was trying to think of good nicknames for LeBron, and I think maybe Goat Chi Men or something would be a good one.
Dude, the worst thing about the LeBron part is I haven't played NBA, the new 2K, but apparently in one of the career modes of the recent NBA games, There's like a whole scene that you're on the plane with LeBron, and LeBron saying, when I came into the league, I'm all about the little guy and people that don't have a voice and being an athlete. Like, it's literally this whole thing about how LeBron has evolved from just an athlete to somebody who speaks for those who can't speak for themselves, unless, of course, it threatens his contracts with China. So
yeah.
I used to like LeBron, man, but
all right,
guys.
Actually,
Jesus Christ, crypto show.
Hey, Gods Unchained was crypto, and of course, we apologize to our Chinese sponsors. We are not threatening the unity of China. Let's move on.
Shanghai Wild Foods.
Yeah, we definitely had one of the Chinese companies on. We did an interview with them, and I can't remember who it was, but I remember they asked me to take something out of the interview afterwards, and I was like, no. I'm not fucking doing that.
Did you send an email that said, I'm sorry, I thought this was America?
Yeah, it was somebody who I wish I could remember. So I'm sure a listener does, but they didn't like the name of the project.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And they were like, can you take that out where he said he didn't like the name? I'm like, no. No, I can't.
All right, so let's get into the actual podcast. I know the listeners are craving our starting section. So we're going to cover the news and events, and we always start with the rapid fire. Rapid fire is headlines that we think you should hear, but we're not going to dive too deep into. So who's going to be our guide through this treacherous journey? Adam, the ruthless machine gun Levy. Let's go.
All right, guys, let's get into it. So the first topic is, we actually talked about this last week with the IRS. And then on 2019's form, sorry, sometimes like Brent just sneezed off a microphone, but he just has like really funny mannerisms while he's about to sneeze. I mean, the mute is pretty impressive. So
Brent makes very funny faces, everybody. It's for sure. Continue, Adam.
Maybe we should video this at some point so we could see it in the future. Yeah, so for the 2019 form, the 1040, there is a question that is now pertaining to crypto on the form. And it says, at any time during 2019, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in any virtual currency? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Kareem's making a pretty
Kareem checks the box and he's like, okay, but to be fair, I was trying to buy Bitcoin, but Cardano's price was so good.
Define digital asset.
Yeah, I mean, does that? I guess that counts as CryptoKitties as well, and all these other things.
Yours are still breeding.
Yeah, they are. I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't checked them in a while, but I did really like that I made mine Vitalik Kitterin. But then I realized I thought that was going to stay forever, but then I realized you could just change the name at any point in time. So I was like, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, they messed that up.
Yeah. Then the next topic is 550 million worth of Ethereum is locked up in various is it DeFi?
Yeah, so decentralized finance is just like they encompass a few things, like the DAI contract. There's another one called Compound. So there's a few where you lock up some asset in a decentralized smart contract manner and get something in return. You either get like a line of credit or you get a interest off giving other people lines of credit or take loans. And anyway,
so Maker has half of that 550 million locked up, 280 mil, a little over half. And there's other ones on this list like Kyber, Bancor, Lightning Network, which is definitely relevant, but those are all a lot smaller, like around 1% of maybe the total 550 million. But I mean, this is cool.
Lightning Network would be Bitcoin, but that's the only one that's listed on Bitcoin.
Yes. And now this is probably my favorite thing from the rapid fire. Satoshi is officially a word in the Oxford English Dictionary. Recently, this year, Oxford added 650 words, and one of them was that. And it basically, the definition is what, for the listeners who don't know what Satoshi is, I'll just read it off. So the smallest well, okay. Simmer down now. So the smallest monetary unit in the Bitcoin digital payment system equal to 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. And so if you ever hear someone being like, oh, it's 7,000 sats or something, sats is short for Satoshi.
They haven't added sats yet, Adam.
But in 2013, Bitcoin was added. And this year, some of the other words that were added were whatevs and chillax. So,
wow.
So now you can chillax, bro.
Okay.
So Satoshi is in some very
good company.
Good company. Yeah.
Here's what I will say about this. I love it. I love that language evolves. I feel like they were really late to the party on chillax. Didn't people start saying chillax? Like, I feel like it's already out of fashion. It's almost like
out. Nobody says it anymore. It already ran its course.
I feel like with selfie, it didn't really become as big. It became bigger once it got added, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's because then somebody like Ellen found out what it was and was like, oh, selfie, huh? Let me see if I can take one of these pictures here.
It was literally the new
voice if she was in the 1930s.
I don't know what that was.
There was definitely like a brand new director at Oxford, the cool new 58-year-old that was like, come on, guys, chillax. We got to get it in the dictionary. Everybody's saying it.
Grandchildren are saying it these days.
Yeah. Oh, man. Anyway.
That's what Warren Buffett says. You know, he would always ask his grandchildren, questions about what they like, and then he would base investments off of it sometimes. So maybe that's what they're doing. What are the cool words? I'm in charge of the dictionary. Tell me.
How can I invest in chillax?
Yes. So the next one is Bitcoin mining revenue jumps by 1 billion in 2 months. And it took 8 years to reach 5 billion. And now and then it was 1 year after that, it reached 10 billion in August 2018. And it's kind of staggered a little bit, slowed down maybe, but they expect to reach 15 billion in revenue by early 2020. So I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's slowed down. These are cumulative numbers, to be clear. It's slowed down, but it's still there's been a lot of value mined and created. So
yes. And I think that's it for the... what?
Delete that one. Delete that one.
No, I thought Brent was about to be like, Kareem, what's the price of Bitcoin? So I opened up CoinMarketCap and I was going to give him the exact price. But no, of course. He zigs when I zag and he zags when I zig.
You can't catch me on this. Catch me sleeping. We're covering that other one that you were about to read off later. There's more to that.
I know. I was moving forward, and then you just outed me, even though I wasn't even going to talk about it, Brent.
Oh, all right.
No, and then you deleted the thing that I wanted to talk about in the next article.
So,
wow.
Brent, the dictator.
Oh, my God. Oh, it's back. Oh, wow. Brent, that was pretty. You did. Well, nice. Brent, he's a magician on the keyboard, honestly. So now we are done with the rapid fire, and we'd like to hear from our sponsors, Wild Foods.
Yes, Wild Foods. Wildfoods.co is our sponsor. That's where we go. Now everybody's had a chance to try the products. Everybody likes products. I'm going to tell everybody this is a quick little fun thing. I don't know if you watched that video of me as Turmeric Man, but I'm coming back this week because it is Turmeric Week. So I will be making an actual scheduled appearance. I don't know. They've got some storyboard for me. So if you want to see me dressed up in a costume and making a voice that goes, oh, hey guys, I'm Turmeric Man, go ahead and check out Wild Foods Instagram. And if you want some great food, real ingredients that is handled from small farms across the world, well sourced, and does good shit for you and your brain, check out wildfoods.co. You can use CryptoBasic12. We have a specific discount. That's us. Makes us look good when you use it. And you get 12% off your order as well. We get no kickback from that other than the fact that they're paying for the ad space. But use it anyway. We would appreciate it.
I got a quick little anecdote for you about Wild Foods, Brent. So after that awesome care package that you sent me, there included 2 very appealing looking bags of coffee, which I love coffee. Brent knows I love coffee. I'm sure that's why he doubled down on that. And so I didn't, I already had these open bags that I've been using. I keep 2 or 3. So I didn't replace them. I was going through all my coffee to get to the Wild Foods coffee. And then after I used my last bag, I realized the morning that I was getting ready to brew that coffee, that it was whole bean coffee. Turns out I don't have a grinder. So I need to go get a grinder. I went 2 whole mornings without coffee, but I can't wait to try that.
This is the coffee amateur hour.
Yeah.
Featuring. I mean, I've been there, but I will recommend you should just, I forget what the actual brand is, but it's like literally $10. You get it on Amazon. It comes the next day, and I bought it multiple times, and I'll let you know.
What?
Wait, hold on a second. Why did you need to buy it multiple times?
Well, no, I meant because I misplaced it once.
This coffee grinder is so good. I bought it 6 times, broke 4 times, lost it twice, but it's so good. I'm gonna buy it again.
Listen, guys, I was off traveling last year for a large period of the year, and I brought that grinder everywhere. And eventually, the grinder, I might have left it at a friend's house. I'm not really sure. But yeah, and it was. I would highly recommend just getting a portable grinder. There you go. So when you're on the road going cross country visiting your dad, you don't have to deal with figuring out how to grind your coffee, your Wild Foods coffee.
Yeah, usually on the road I just buy coffee, but I see what you're saying here. Like
what you're saying is Wild Foods needs to sell grinders because they're apparently a replenishable item. Okay, that was the longest ad for Wild Foods ever. Sorry, guys. Let's go from coffee to water, which you use to make the coffee, and talk about Telegram making some coffee with the SEC.
What? Water. Okay, yeah, hot water. Okay, we see what you did there. Yeah. That was. I don't want to say that was good because I don't like lying, but
Derp will appreciate it.
Good for you. All right.
Brent's Comedy Hours coming out in a few weeks. Stay tuned.
All right, so here's the situation, guys. We have talked about Telegram before on the show. There are 2 big projects that everybody's keeping an eye on, right? There was Facebook, Libra. They came out swinging, advertising, big-time partnerships, all that stuff. And I think basically 99.9% of the population is enjoying watching this crumble in Zuckerberg's hands. It's fantastic. However,
more on that in a little bit.
The other thing that we discussed was Telegram, who took a totally different approach. They had raised a ton of money and they were keeping it quiet, not talking about it, and they were like ready to release this thing into the wild, as we discussed in previous episodes, by October 30th. Well, hold my beer, says the SEC, because it looks like they tried to fly under the radar and that might actually backfire. It wasn't such a good idea.
Wait, is this our fault? Did we out them? Is that what happened here? I think that's what happened. I think the SEC listens to us.
There were other news sources, Brent, but probability-wise, yes. It was likely the Crypto Basic podcast. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they won't come after us. But here's the situation. The SEC has formally instructed Telegram that they have to halt the sales of grams, and it filed an emergency action, and they obtained a temporary restraining order against the 2 offshore entities. So the question here is why? What is the SEC claiming? Well, according to their statement, they were conducting an alleged unregistered ongoing digital token offering in the U.S. and overseas. Again, as a reminder, we're talking about $1.7 billion that Telegram raised in 2 different rounds of fundraising, some inside the United States and some outside the United States. Now, the bottom line is that the SEC is considering this a security. So by failing to register back in 2018 when they were doing this fundraising, the SEC now considers that they were in violation of the Securities Act of 1933. Here's the specific quote from the SEC. Our emergency action today is intended to prevent Telegram from flooding the U.S. markets with digital tokens that we allege were unlawfully sold. Specifically, they failed to provide investors with information regarding the business operations, the financial condition, the risk factors, and the management of the product, which are all part of what you're supposed to do as part of a security.
Damn.
Here's where it gets even uglier. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out for Telegram, but if you guys remember when we covered a couple of weeks ago this like hidden story that the New York Times had broken, one of the things that New York Times saw in legal documents was that Telegram promised the investors that if they weren't able to release the coin by October 31st, 2019, the investors would get their money back.
Ooh.
Snap.
TikTok. Yeah, you got 2 weeks left.
Right. But of course, they're not going to be able to launch it. The SEC already stopped them. And they're not going to even have that money because not only have they obviously used some of it for development or a lot of it for development, But by being in violation of the Securities Act, the SEC is probably going to sue for damages, and some of that money they might have to give to the SEC. So it looks like there's going to be 3 different claims on that money, both from the original investors, from Telegram's development, and from the SEC, who is filing legal action. So here's the quote, another quote from the SEC. We have repeatedly stated that issuers cannot avoid the federal securities laws just by labeling their product a cryptocurrency or a digital token. So there's an update to the story. What is Telegram going to do? This broke about 5 days ago. There was another story that broke yesterday where Telegram emailed one of the investor groups. Remember, there's 2 different rounds of investors. And it looks like they're trying to cut a deal with the investors because their hands are pretty close to tied. So in an email that they sent to the second round of investors, they're asking for an extension to delay the release until April 30th of 2020. That's only 6 months. I don't really know how much.
Yeah, that's not. I don't know what they know about the SEC, but
wow.
I don't think that it's going to go down the way they think. But this is what they're telling the investors in the email. Quote, we disagree with the SEC's legal position and intend to vigorously defend the lawsuit. We are proposing to extend the deadline in order to provide additional time to resolve the SEC's lawsuit and work with other governmental authorities in advance of the launch of the TON network. I don't know what all of the specifics are, but what we do know is that the second group of investors, who are the token holders, basically both investors groups have to sign off on delaying the release. And the second group of investors has until October 23rd, which is only a week, to sign and approve this extension. And if they don't, then they're going to be entitled to get 77% of their initial investment back. We don't know what Telegram said to the first group of investors because they sent them a separate communication. So that can mean that it was just sent in a different email. That can mean that they have different terms. We really don't know. But here's the bottom line. The idea here was to just go under the radar and explode, put it out into the market, and then it was going to be too late for the SEC to do anything about it. And it looks like that completely blew up in their face. And it's hard we don't have any inside information, so this is pure speculation. But seeing what's going down with Libra, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these investors are looking at this as something that's not going to work out, and the possibility of getting some of their money back is going to be too tempting, and they're just going to be like, nah, man, ship it.
To put it eloquently, they're fucked.
Yeah.
They're in a ton of trouble, Adam.
Yes, nice. We got another pun. I feel like there needs to be the pun counter for Brent. Yeah. I thought it was funny. Maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago, we talked about how Telegram, there was an article that was saying Telegram was thinking of going another route or trying to sneak past, the SEC because of Libra, and they were trying to avoid all of these issues. And that is just completely not going to happen. You just don't get past the SEC if you're operating as the security. They will get to you eventually.
They're super close. The SEC had to be like, "Oh shit!" and put a thing in there.
I'm sure there was they saw, okay, they're releasing October 31st. Let's put a pin on that for a bit, and they put it on their board, and they were like, "All right, we're going to get to it eventually."
It's on
before
Trello,
October.
Like, right.
Yeah. It's in their Asana.
Yeah, like the SEC uses fucking Trello or Asana, my ass. They're like, they wrote it down on like a whiteboard somewhere and it got half erased. And they're like, hey, what are we supposed to do with this, guys?
Is that Ellen at the SEC?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know she started working there.
And guys, the reality too is I feel like this ploy may have worked if it was like maybe 2 years ahead or something. I mean, I know that the conditions wouldn't have been there, but like, there's more clarity. The governments are more on alert. They're more looking for this kind of stuff. So
if they had done it January 2017, I think they would have gotten away with it.
Yeah, they might have not been prepared to stop it.
It was just like too much smoke and mirrors or too many smoke.
Kareem, let's say one day you went on to invest in Bitcoin and then you saw this and you ended up investing in Telegram instead. Would you be accepting their offer to extend, or would you be like, fuck it, I want my money back?
I would probably take the money back. Yeah.
I think I would too, because there's a good chance there's not going to be any money there.
Yeah. And look, the bottom line is a lot of times the government works on public opinion. I don't know if that's always the case with the SEC, but we're seeing the Libra situation completely crumble. And the other problem is that the more you delay this, I'll tell you what I would think, Brent. If I was an investor and I got this letter saying, hey, let's push it back 6 months, I would think to myself, what the hell do you think you're going to be able to do in 6 months? You really think in 6 months you're going to get the SEC to reverse course on their labeling of securities? Like, good luck, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about a big company trying to release a massive cryptocurrency project and getting smacked in the face. Let's talk about Libra.
All right, I'm so excited to talk about Libra, because it's our weekly section.
Yeah, like at this point, it might as well just be like the Libra breakdown or something.
It's your weekly Libra horoscope.
Libra basic podcast, guys. Come on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Come on.
So let's see. Last week, Booking.com dropped out of the Libra Foundation. Mercado Pago.
Well, two weeks ago, PayPal dropped out. Remember. So
eBay dropped out of the Libra Foundation. Stripe dropped out of the Libra Foundation. Visa dropped out of the Libra Foundation. And MasterCard also dropped out of the Libra Foundation. This is all within the last week. They're now left with they have lost 25% of their initial Libra backers. 21 of the 28, future nodes are still there. And this all happened, at least Booking.com dropped out the day that they were supposed to sign the pact in Geneva. And I don't know about the other ones, but I just thought that the fact that Visa, PayPal, Stripe, MasterCard all left, some of the biggest payment processors in the entire freaking world were like, yeah, no, that's just not good for Facebook. And it's almost like these other 21 companies, maybe they feel like, oh, God, we're just kind of stuck here. I don't know.
All they've done is say that they're going to be a part of it. It's not like they signed anything.
They didn't put any money down.
No. Anybody who's ever tried to do a vacation or have a fantasy football league or anything, like we said before, everybody's going to tell you they're in.
They were formally signing on. That's what they did in Geneva.
That's what they
I don't know if everybody was there, though.
Sorry?
That's what they would have done.
No. I'm saying all these other companies formally signed on, so those guys are in there now.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that those other ones had formally actually said yes.
No, that was the whole thing. They all met in Switzerland to, for the future of payments and, Libra and the Calibra Foundation was there. And
I feel like losing Visa and MasterCard is probably a big deal.
Yeah. And the first one they lost was PayPal. We talked about that last week. PayPal was supposed to be showing up to some meeting and they were like, nah, man, we're good. And then I thought about how bad that was because unless everybody at PayPal hates David Marcus now, that seems like the last one you should lose. If I started another podcast and I was like, hey, you guys want to help me with this poker podcast, you'd be the last two motherfuckers that would bail on me. And if you were the first ones, it'd be like, oh yeah, well, that's going to be good.
Yeah, I am kind of shocked by all of these drops. I'm not shocked. It's more of surprise that, these guys kind of didn't see. We talked about it the first day. I feel like when me and Kareem, I think it was in May, we had an episode with us two and we just talked about Libra and a lot of the possibilities. Mine were a lot more positive than Kareem's, but we did talk about how quickly there was legislation, or sorry, not legislation, but there were, they wanted hearings and there was going to be a battle with the government. So it's kind of crazy that all these companies didn't really foresee that coming.
Yeah.
Would they thought that Facebook was just going to be okay with the government? It was going to work out. I don't know.
Dude, and realistically, I mean, I don't even say this as a joke. How many companies can you think of right now that have a more toxic image than Facebook?
Yeah.
They're toxic. It just too much shit went down, and it seems like any time a release comes out, about anything regarding them, it's just more shady. It's more like, we know that companies only care about the bottom line, but I mean, Zuckerberg is like one of the most reviled, and definitely when it comes to tech, most giant companies that are hated tend to be like fossil fuels or banks. Facebook is tech, which still gets a pass in most people's public perception. But after 2016 and all that, this was the wrong company to be spearheading the revolution here.
Has it really been 3 years since the Cambridge Analytica? Oh, I guess like that's when it happened, and then
we learned about it in 2 years.
Yeah. 19 minus 16 is 3. Yeah.
So
thanks for the math. The math class over here.
A couple of the big companies that are still on, Uber and Lyft, are still on board. Spotify's still on board, and that's it. Like the rest of these companies are not like household names. Like Vodafone, come on, it's Andreessen Horowitz is only because we know who they are. Like they're also not a big household name. There's a few humanitarian companies. PayU, Iliad.
PayU is actually a pretty big company outside of America. They're like a pretty big payment processing company.
Okay, so that's just me being a dumb American. That's fine. Anchorage is still there. Breakthrough Initiatives. I feel like the market cap of these companies, just like, even though only 25% of them disappeared, it has a massive amount of like theoretical market cap behind the companies that are involved now.
And it's the payment processors, brother. You know what I mean? It's the payment processors. Come on, like Uber and Lyft. Well, congratulations. How many more people are going to use Libra because they can use it on their Uber? Okay, sure, some. What is that? That's minuscule. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Uber and Lyft are on board. They're just probably thinking that it'll funnel some business. Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, those, you know what I mean? Those were the ones that mattered, in my opinion.
Yeah.
See you later, Libra.
Anyway, also there, and just to kind of top it off, Warren Davidson, a U.S. senator for Ohio, Republican U.S. senator, said that Facebook should drop the Libra project and adopt Bitcoin. So, I mean, it's always good to see, Republicans. I feel like Democrats are a little bit more progressive. So it's always good to see Republicans talking about Bitcoin in a positive manner. And
we've covered before a lot of the people who are pro Bitcoin are Republican.
It's true. It's definitely true.
And also this Warren Davidson guy, apparently he has been on board since damn near before Bitcoin. Like he's been working with virtual currencies forever. So that was interesting to read.
Yeah. I will say, even though I'm clearly ideologically opposed to the Republican Party in almost every way, I think that conservatives are much more identifying of they identify the problem of centralized currency much more, or they make it a focus. Yeah, maybe it has to do with the fact that left-leaning politicians are more on board Keynesian economics, so the idea of being able to print money just kind of goes on board. But you have a lot of these guys that are kind of anti-central banking, anti-printing money, and it would make sense that they would be ideologically aligned with something like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're allowed to admit when we agree with things, even if we don't like the leader of their group. It's fine. Like
people who like Crypto Basic and they have to deal with Brent being the head honcho here. We all just deal with Chairman Brent.
Yeah, but Genius Kareem is around for the ride. That's like
okay, I guess.
Dictator Brent over here telling us what we can and cannot say on this podcast.
You guys should see how he treats us off mic. But anyway,
it's actually, the good thing is we can say anything. Brent, says, hey, free speech. Say whatever you want.
Don't say fuck the Chinese government, guys, please.
He won't ban us for liking a tweet. You guys see?
Zed
oh
got...
my God, bro.
He liked a tweet, Brent. I don't know if you saw this. He literally liked a tweet about South Park, the episode with China, and he got banned because I guess some Chinese, official went down all the likes and maybe saw all the relevant figures and was like, but what the hell?
First of all, the episode where Randy says fuck the Chinese government in the end actually wasn't that good. I probably wouldn't have liked it.
Adam Levy or John Mayer's calling me right now. It literally says that. I know it's reversed, so you can't really see it, but it's scrolling. What the fuck?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't answer that.
No, I think I'm good.
Really sounds like one of your friends just made a joke. saved it on your contacts.
or somebody figured out your password and they're getting you like we talked about before you got on there.
Yeah,
it's probably possible.
All right, so let's move on, guys. I want to hear about Nano, a cryptocurrency that I'm actually pretty excited to hear an update on this.
So this was, I almost just put this in the rapid fire section, but then I looked into it and looked at it, and this is super cool. So Nano released a plugin for the Unreal Engine for games, and the Unreal Engine is used in a massive amount of games.
That's right.
Huge names game. I just picked a couple that you've definitely heard about, but Assassin's Creed, the Batman Arkham Asylum series, Borderlands, just
you actually missed the biggest one. So
Rocket League.
Rocket
League is Unreal Engine too.
Yeah, but
guys,
Fortnite.
Look at the names. I picked I didn't even scroll down. I got to the B's, and I was like,
it's a ton of the biggest games are on Unreal Engine.
Yeah, so literally, if it's a huge game, it's probably on Unreal. They're probably
Unreal is Fortnite. I'm pretty sure that Unreal Engine is like Epic used to be like the Unreal Engine, and then if I remember correctly, I have to double check, but it's massive.
The only thing, though, the reason Brent didn't mention Fortnite is because most of our audience is adults. So
yeah, I mean it's the biggest game in the one of the biggest games in the world.
I actually am.
And it's the one game that you should be mentioning regardless, because literally Epic Games is Fortnite is Unreal Engine. And I used to play Unreal Fighter, Unreal Tournament back in the day. And I thought even then, even though I was terrible at it, and when I'd play online, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely atrocious, but this is fun. It was so ahead of its time as far as just the UI and the smoothness of the game for a game in 2000.
So yes, the biggest games, I was getting to Fortnite, but we got it out here now. So I watched the demo of this thing. It was awesome to watch this demo. So what they did is they first of all, they entered a game, and to enter the game, they paid some Nano, right at the beginning, and they have their wallet side by side with the game real time. So you clicked enter, and it charged you Nano. It charged it to the wallet immediately, as you got into the game. In the game, the player was rolling around. It was just a fake RPG. It was just called RPG. Mm-hmm. The player was rolling around killing monsters. Every monster that the player killed generated a new Nano transaction, and it went to his wallet instantaneously. So in game, you could see your Nano balance going up for each monster that you killed, and you were essentially looting them. And then your Nano balance on the blockchain was already updated based on you killing that monster.
That's awesome.
I was really cool. Damn. That is awesome. So then they go to the store in the game, and they show that you can buy a battle axe with Nano inside the game. And that is the plugin that they created basically. So what my Fortnite mention is, imagine a Fortnite game, and they do this right now, but it's done with third parties, and it's super weird and shady, where you can enter the battle royale by paying a buy-in, and the person who survives gets the money. That's there's going to be all kinds of new layers to that, coalitions forming of people that are trying to get together and split the prize money and stuff like that. But I think that's a cool demographic, or a cool thing to add to the Fortnite gaming, to watch. As long as it's randomized people going in, you don't know who you're going to end up with. So anyway, super cool watching that. And it's the first time, I know Engines talked about cross-platform stuff, but literally, if every Unreal Engine can use the same money, that seems insane to me. If you'd like, and then you can make decisions as to what you're buying in game with the different money and all that. So also what I was reading a Reddit post about this, and one of the Reddit users brought something up that I hadn't even thought about. It was a throwaway account, so I don't remember what it was, throwaway whatever, and they said this is actually pretty big for people who have 10, 11-year-old kids, that they don't want to open them a bank account with a bunch of restrictions because they're 10 or 11 and it's tough. But they also want them to have the ability to buy stuff in their games based on their allowance. So if I'm giving somebody a $10 a week allowance as my kid, I can throw it in a Nano wallet and not worry about anything. They can literally just play the game with their Nano funds, and I don't have to worry about them running up $500 on my credit card or whatever.
So a couple of things here, Brian, because I find this story fascinating. Really cool that you're sharing this. Number one, I'm correct in remembering that Nano is one of the transaction-free blockchains, right? So
yes,
therefore,
does not have a fee.
Okay, so that means that it can stay in the ecosystem literally eternally, and it just goes wherever it needs to go. That's really cool. The second thing I like about this, a lot of people might roll their eyes, but I think it's cool. It creates another avenue for people to become professional gamers. And as somebody who had the opportunity to become a professional gamer in my own field, I definitely appreciate this. I know that some kids out there, are going to be able to at least make some money doing this. That's really cool. And the third thing is I could see this also creating a more directly beneficial advertising model to the gamers, right? Like, because usually what happens in situations like this is the games get super, super competitive. It's like online poker, super competitive. So the best gamers are going to eat up all the money if you make it zero sum. Like, for example, the example you said about the Battle Royale, everybody buys 10 Nano. But imagine a scenario where, Nike wants to sponsor a battle royale and they put up 100 Nano and you can enter for free. And then you just see a Nike ad or there's some kind of Nike placement or whatever. And if you don't want to deal with that, there's non-sponsored aspects. But here you're directly benefiting from it, as opposed to just like, oh yeah, the developer gets all the advertising money and they just shove it in your face and that's it.
Yeah, there's a ton of potential for a plugin like this. I cannot believe how seamlessly it was working. I don't know if that video was doctored in some way to where like it was instant. I don't like, and I know the Nano blockchain is super fast because we've seen like the demonstrations before.
It's honestly crazy how many times Nano seems to pop up in the news for like kind of just being very ahead of the curve, or they just keep doing things that, this isn't financial advice, but I'm just constantly impressed by the things that seem to be going on at Nano. Yeah, maybe all these things are doctored, but it doesn't seem like it. And it seems like they have a super fast blockchain and they're doing cool stuff like this. I mean, I'm kind of impressed.
Yeah. I'm going to second that, Adam. And I think a lot of people who've listened to the show for a long time know that even though I'm really interested in the space, my, let's say, investment or interest is very limited to like what I consider top-rated projects and stuff like that. So I'm not the kind of guy that's going in deep into the weeds and finding new projects that are super cheap but might be, super huge one day. I'm the big project type of guy. But I remember that when Brent was breaking down Nano and how it worked and everything about it, I was like, well, this is pretty cool. This is a pretty unique project, and they keep doing stuff like this. They're going to have a place in the space.
And it's a good thing you didn't buy any Nano when you got excited about it, because it wouldn't have worked out well for you.
I'm very picky. Don't worry, it's not like my other investments.
All this means is Kareem is going to go to buy some Nano in the next couple of weeks, and then just end up with more Cardano.
More or less.
All right, that's enough on Nano. Just a little bit about a little project. Now we're going to talk about the CFTC chairman. What does that stand for? The Chicago Finance Trade Commission, I think? No, Commodities and Futures Trade Commission. Yes, that. Chairman gives their opinion on Ether.
Yeah, so this is big news, kind of the opposite of our Telegram situation. So this guy's name is Heath Turbert, and he has officially said that from his perspective, Ether, he said this as the chairman, Ether is a commodity, not a security. So he was talking to Yahoo Finance, and this is the specific quote. We've been very clear on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a commodity, but we haven't said anything about Ether until now. It is my view as chairman of the CFTC that Ether is a commodity. That's huge. Damn. That is very big, guys.
So just to clarify, as opposed to a security?
Correct.
So it's like that's always the fight. It's whether it's a commodity. That is the Howey test, right?
Correct. 100%.
I'm learning. Yeah.
Somebody's been listening to the Crypto Basic podcast. Look at this guy.
Wow.
So yes, the question, remember, a security is like, let's say, then this is for the audience, of course, a security is more like we're buying stock in a company, which means that you're hoping that your investment in somebody else's work and ingenuity yields you a profit. If I buy stock in Apple or Tesla, it's because I think that what their executive team and their company is going to do will make me money. A commodity like gold or oil is inherently valuable. And if I am buying it because I think it's going to be worth more in the future, I'm simply kind of gambling on the future value of it. I'm not expecting that any one person's work is going to yield that profit for me. So by putting Ether in the same category as Bitcoin and saying, hey, these are commodities, then they don't fall under all of these restrictive battles that we see Telegram is facing now for being a commodity. And again, this is another sober comment that I thought was interesting. He was asked about hard forks. Quick tangent. This is how you know we're getting serious in the space, right? Like before, we could barely get the government people to stammer out coherent sentences about Bitcoin, and now the CFTC is getting asked about hard forks, right?
Wow.
So, and his response to hard forks was this: it stands to reason that similar assets should be treated similarly. If the underlying asset, the original digital asset, hasn't been determined to be a security and is therefore a commodity, then most likely the forked asset will be the same unless the fork itself raises some security law issues under the classic Howey test.
Damn.
Wow.
So, good news.
Did anybody tell him that he was talking about a fork?
You talking about Ethereum?
Yeah. Just Anthony's going to be mad if I don't make it clear that he's already talking about a hard fork.
He's already talking about a hard fork. That's right.
Touche.
So anyway, that's it. Obviously, big news, and I know a lot of people are invested in Ethereum. So this is pretty good stuff for everybody, I think.
Yeah, and it also means that there could be futures trading on Ethereum, not just Bitcoin soon, which is good.
And it's also a competitive advantage, guys, because some of the platforms that are going to try to compete with Ether might not do that.
We're going to go through the same process at some point.
Well, yes,
this is taking years,
right? And now that they've ruled on Ethereum, let's say, for example, I'm not trying to pick on them just because we like to pick on them, but let's think about EOS. There's a pretty good chance that the way that their fundraising happened might yield the CFTC to rule, hey, EOS is not a commodity. EOS is a security. And if that happens, other than the fact that, they're not as good as Ethereum, period, this will be another hurdle for them to even come close to approaching Ethereum's market cap.
Yep.
Anyway, that's it for Ethereum. Looks like the next story here is eToro. What's this about, guys?
So eToro for a little bit reached out to the podcast and asked for sponsorship. I knew how big of a company they were, so I remember sending them numbers that were astronomical, and then they didn't talk back to us. So I was like, oh man, you know what? We could have probably let them sponsor it for a normal rate, but whatever.
I was not consulted, obviously.
Hey,
I just found out about this.
You got to shoot your shot.
Yeah. So this is a while ago. I just remember they were about to launch in the U.S. market. They wanted to blanket some podcasts, which is why you're going to hear them on all the other shows and not ours.
Oh,
but anyway, we're talking about them now for free. So joke's on us, I guess. They launched a crypto trading bot that is trading 100% based on Twitter sentiment.
What?
So I hate that this thing might actually work. It uses an AI to scrape Twitter for sentiment and allocates the portfolio accordingly. You need at least a 2K minimum investment to be a part of it. And it's got a partnership with something that's called the Thai Data Analysis Firm. And I thought it would be funny to talk to you guys about what you think might be in the allocations based on the fact that it's a Twitter bot. So if you're running a bot that only trades on Twitter sentiment, what coins do you think it would be including in there? Adam, let's start with you.
I would think it would be Ethereum, number one. Start off. I would say, it would just be Ethereum, probably some Bitcoin, and then that's where it gets kind of dicey. Like Ripple, not really. Cardano, no. Twitter sentiment. It's probably it might be some random coins, to be honest, because it's just a random thing to go off of.
Yeah, okay. I'm dying to jump in here.
Adam went the reason. You can clearly tell he's curated his people that he follows on Twitter very well.
I hate this. I hate this trading bot, and if it works, I am going to speculate that the window through which it'll work is going to be tiny, unless what I'm going to say, unless they have extremely good AI that is able to identify bot tweets, they're going to get screwed because this just incentivizes gaming the system. The shittiest coins are going to push hashtag. You know what they're going to be selling? Tron. They're going to be selling EOS. They're going to be doing all kinds of crap with all the coins that have to make up bullshit marketing because they lack in substance what they're going to put up on social media. So, I mean, this is just atrocious. That's like saying.
So, I was going to say it in a second, but I will point out that the guy who runs this said that 90% of the Twitter activity is ignored because they believe it to be bots. So they've programmed in a way to ignore bots.
Okay. So the one thing I will say is that I feel like that's going to be an ongoing game then. That at that point, it becomes an arms race between the people that are programming the bots. And once they understand, like, this just has such a ceiling, in my opinion. It's like arbitrage in a way, right? Because let's say that, okay, they effectively rule out the bots and then they grow and grow in market cap because most people are like, wow, this bot can make money. The more it grows, the more it influences the market. The more it influences the market, the more incentive that people who are using bots on Twitter will have to make their bots specifically target this artificial intelligence, which means they'll have to adjust it. The margins will get thinner and thinner and thinner. And then I think it'll be irrelevant based on the bigger market. So, I think that they'll make some money in the short run. That's my prediction.
All right. And you threw out a couple of coins there because my question was, what coins do you think? But there was a lot more there, so I feel like the people might have forgotten the coins that you threw out. What do you think this portfolio looks like right now?
I think this portfolio has a lot of Tron, a lot of EOS, and what, am I supposed to know the name of more than 6 currencies? What am I, some kind of encyclopedia? What's going on here?
There's so much engine in there. Maybe there's some Neo. How about what about like Titcoin? Or wasn't there?
Now we're finding out Adam's curation.
No, I just remember one time I looked through all the coins and noticed all the random ones. Like, I think there's actually a fuck coin. I'm not joking.
It doesn't have enough Cardano. I guarantee you that.
Fair enough. I mean,
right.
According to Kareem, I don't think many ports can.
What?
So I was a little bit disingenuous for asking you what coins you thought were going to be in there. Because they only are monitoring 13 coins for the portfolio total. And they're not necessarily including them all in their asset allocation. So if I list off the coins, maybe we can narrow this down a little bit. The coins that exist are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, XRP, IOTA, Bitcoin Cash, Neo, Ethereum Classic, Dash, EOS, Stellar Lumens, Litecoin, Zcash, and Cardano.
Okay, well then I think Neo is going to be at a disadvantage because a lot of their activity is probably not going to be on Twitter because they're going to be on Chinese social media. I think that Bitcoin is obviously kind of predominant enough that it'll play a significant role, but I think that IOTA, EOS, and Tron are going to be way overcompensated. Oh, there is no Tron.
They're not monitoring Tron.
It'll still sneak in. It'll still sneak in because of the Twitter activity.
All right, so here's their actual current allocations. I just looked these up. Obviously, they change pretty quickly. 47% Dash.
Wow.
Which I was like, what? Because I expected the same thing as you guys. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be all Tron and EOS and stuff like that. I mean, they didn't disappoint. The next one is 25% EOS. The next one is 25% XRP, which both make sense to me. So 46% of this portfolio is EOS and XRP. 47% is Dash, which is more than that. 5% IOTA and 2% Ethereum Classic. So no Bitcoin in there, no Cardano in there, no Ethereum in there, which makes sense. Like, these are non-hype machines. Like, that people don't like hype machine these things.
Okay.
So Dash is very weird, though. That's making me rethink my thoughts that Dash is a cool currency.
No, look, I still like Dash, and they have a strong community, so this isn't totally shocking. But this confirms my initial bias that I totally hated the base idea of how they're going to invest in this. I can't imagine a worse dumpster fire idea. They're like, here's how we're going to decide how to invest. And conclusion, we have no Bitcoin, we have no Ethereum, we have no Cardano. Yeah, congratulations on creating a pile of shit. Man.
So yeah, I guess it's a good thing they didn't advertise with us.
Yeah,
we just said that their product was a pile of shit.
Man, this confirms my biases, guys. I'm sorry. Now I see how people get more set in their ways. This is setting me more in my ways.
eToro, if you still want to sponsor us, maybe you can hit us up.
We'll give you a discount now.
Yeah, and
instead of the.
By the way, if Tron, I'm telling you right now, if they hadn't consciously chosen to exclude Tron, this thing would be like 70%.
98% Tron. Yeah.
I had no idea.
That must have been like,
this is actually crazy though, because I had no idea that Dash of all the coins had such a strong social media user base, you know?
So here's what they're doing. So they're eliminating a lot of the bot posts, and they're using, so they have to program their AI in a different way. They can't just, like, if they say EOS on Twitter, they have to figure out if they mean the camera or if they mean the actual cryptocurrency. So the same thing would be like for Dash. They don't know if they're talking about like the 30-yard dash or something. Like they have to be careful with how they do that. They also said that they know, for instance, that there's a ton of XRP shills out there. But what they do to make their decisions are they look at the day-to-day shilling and see what percentage it goes up or down. So if there's already a baseline of XRP crazy people, then they kind of ignore that and they just see if there's more people the next day. Then if there are, if it's trending upward from its baseline, then that's when they're going to make more of a decision to invest. So what that means to me is maybe something happened in Dash that we don't know about that got a lot of people talking this week. So they allocated their portfolio towards it. So I don't know, but you can click on the link in the show notes if you want to see like what that portfolio actually looks like.
Cool. So I guess that's it. We're ready to move on to...
Yeah, real quick, I want to say one more thing. This almost seems like I would almost rename this the pump and dump prediction trading bot, right?
Oh.
Because it's essentially like the moment that they see an uptick in activity from the people who are paying for this activity to be shilled, the bot is buying a bunch of stuff. And I'm assuming that it's essentially trying to predict a pump and dump in action. That's what it seems like to me.
Looks like it. I mean, we don't know what is going on with their algorithm. We'll check back in on this in a few months, see how their portfolio performed. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be good. Again, they did like back testing and it did awesome. So it probably will be good in the short term until people kind of invest in it. And then
it seems like a fun experiment that's going to end poorly, but I could definitely see if they utilized other social medias and besides Twitter. Like Twitter is just a very tribalistic medium, and
I think they're targeting the right thing if they're targeting crypto, though. Twitter is synonymous with crypto. Nobody's on Facebook talking about crypto. Nobody's on Instagram like posting pictures of them holding a fucking ledger. I don't know. Like
if you targeted Facebook, it would definitely flip to Ethereum and Bitcoin. Let's be honest. There are people that are mentioning stuff, and I'm not even saying. I just think that they need to take other sources, not necessarily. Maybe they take Medium. Medium could be a good source. See what's on there. There's a lot of posts from all these other random.
Maybe we should make a better bot, boys.
Yes.
I already made a better bot. It's called Pick 3 Good Currencies and keep buying them. You don't have to look at sentiment.
Kareem coding his trading bot would be like, okay,
buy,
scrape coin market cap, find coin. Go open coin to buy, redirect to Cardano.
Execute. That's not true. Bitcoin, Ethereum. I was just talking about how good Nano is. None of that's financial advice, but let's continue.
All right. It's time for That's Kind of a Scam.
No. That's a scam.
So this is my topic. Why don't we just start that over? I was a little distracted. I was actually watching
texting.
No, I was watching a video on a bot. It was relevant because apparently there's it was an Arizona Fall League game for arguing balls and strikes called by a robot umpire. So it was like you were talking about a bot, and they were getting so heated because it'd be like something down near the knees, and it was called a strike, and then they'd get ejected for arguing with the strike that was clearly a ball. So it was just kind of your point, like, yeah, we're still a ways from bots actually, being good. Go ahead.
And Adam, I have this just random pet peeve that I have. I can't tell you how many sports I have seen everybody argue with the goddamn ref, and I've never seen a call reversed ever over an argument. Like, ever. They always get in the ref's face, and it's literally impossible that the ref is like, yeah, that was kind of fucked up.
Football is interesting this year because they started.
You haven't been watching football.
Yeah, football now, pass interference is actually reversible. Like, as in you can challenge the pass interference call.
Right.
So, or you can challenge that it wasn't called.
Yeah, either way.
Through a formal challenge process, not through the wide receiver getting in the ref's face.
True.
Yeah, but have you ever played sports? Emotions, that's how you let the emotions out, and that's how you create a buzz.
Refs are humans. I feel like you can definitely, if you do it the right way, you can influence their future decision making. If you make them feel awful about a bad call, maybe they make a makeup call.
I believe makeup calls are a thing to some extent. Maybe not like completely blatant, but occasionally you'll be like, all right, you're right. That was definitely my bad. Yeah. Also, quick story. I did ump one game. And I was like, let's try it. I'm in high school. I was actually playing baseball, but I couldn't play baseball at that time because I had an injury. So I was like, fuck it. Let's try umpiring one. And there was some kid was running to first, and it was a close call. And honestly, it's tough. Like, seeing it in real time, you don't get an instant replay. You don't get to look at the play again. You have to be right at that point. And if you're not looking for the right stuff, you're going to miss it. And I remember there was this one point where the kid ran to first base, and as he got there, it was real close. I went out, and I put my hands out like it was safe. So like, and I just like, and then like everyone in the stands were like, what? Like, what? And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, he's out. My bad. It was a whole situation. Yeah. And at that point I was like, wow, I have a lot of respect for anyone refereeing anything, honestly, Adam, at a high level.
You should have played it off like a stretch. You should have been like, out. Stretching.
Turns into
Sorry, I got a little thing on my back. Yeah, he's out. Whatever the motion is.
Oh man. So yeah, that's just a day in the life of me doing hilariously dumb shit. But that was a funny moment. Now that I look back, and you guys laughed. So let's go to That's a Scam right now. And South Korea and the U.S., they busted a giant child porn site following a Bitcoin trail. And like, yeah, maybe it's not kind of a scam, but I felt like this is definitely something that, it's a bust. They got in trouble for this. And so a South Korean man by the name of Jong Woo Sun, he's 23 years old. He operated a dark market that accepted Bitcoin and distributed more than 1 million sexually explicit videos involving children. And he's only serving 18 months in prison in South Korea. And my gut instinct was that's fucking low.
I guess Ross should have lived in South Korea.
It's possible that he cut a deal or something to like get other people involved. No, this is probably the guy at the top, so they probably went through.
Well, or the guy that's doing distribution, and not the guy that's like involved in actual abuse
or something.
Yeah.
So, but this is actually pretty massive of a like a bust, because 337 other people were charged, not in South Korea, but globally. And they were able to rescue 23 victims since March 2018. And there were some interesting things. Like, this guy was operating it from his room in, like his apartment. And this is what he was doing. And I guess the way that it would work was you would get points by posting videos or pics of children on this dark web marketplace. And then you maybe it'd be an upvote or something, or you get experience points or something. So kind of, yeah. And it was just like this whole
wow, they gamified fucking underage porn. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal. And so there's actually a quote from Don Fort. He's the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. And basically, he was the chief of the division. He basically said, our agency's ability to analyze the blockchain and de-anonymize Bitcoin transactions allowed for the identification of hundreds of predators around the world. The scale of this crime is eye-popping and sickening. And I completely agree. And it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That blows my fucking mind. How can you have like a whole niche section of a website that's got like experience points and fucking upvotes and shit that is involved in this? Like, if we tried to do that with something reasonable and real, it would get nobody. And this has got tons of people.
Yeah. But here's what I will say too, guys, is it really shows how incorrect the narrative on Bitcoin is. We keep talking about this. We talked before about the dirty cop that got caught in the dark web situation. Not the dark web, the Silk Road. Remember? There was the cop that basically extorted the main guy for money, and he was caught because of Bitcoin. All these people that say Bitcoin makes all these crimes easier and everything. The blockchain is immutable. Any transaction you make on there stays on the record. In a lot of ways, and I'm not even saying this is a positive or a negative or whatever, just the way it is. In a lot of ways, it's more clear record. It's a more traceable record. It might make solving crimes easier.
Yeah, we've said that it's only pseudo-anonymous, and they're able to de-anonymize a lot of this stuff. So it's gonna be great. The more this happens, the more that they catch like the real fucking shitty people and not like the guy that made a website to sell weed.
Right.
Like, this makes me super happy that they were able to catch these guys. So, hopefully they don't figure it out and start moving to Monero.
Yeah, I mean, the dark web is a crazy, crazy place. I've never really been on there. I've just only heard stories.
You've never gone to the Upside Down?
No, I know that, but it's pretty. I mean, yeah, they're definitely going to be going to other privacy coins, unfortunately, and that could be an issue down the road. But you're like you said, this is very good to see that they're able to track based on every transaction, and
Bitcoin can be a law enforcement tool.
Yes, I'm curious if they didn't use Bitcoin, if it would even be as trackable. I mean, well, yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I don't necessarily think that they could have done it to maybe this extent with cash or other, currencies. But at the same time, they were able to kind of retroactively figure it out because of that. So ultimately, it's like if you're doing it, you're going to get in trouble. So it's fine because it's on the ledger. It's immutable.
Like everything else, guys, technology is a tool, and it's a tool that can be used for good, for bad. It's always a double-edged sword, and it's never inherently one thing, except for PlayStation. That's inherently good. Continue.
And I think that's about it for That's a Scam, or That's Kind of a Scam.
I want to hear some shots. There was a shot fired. Who?
Yes. So this was great. I saw this kind of like as it occurred, but there was a crypto conference that was apparently very non-Bitcoin centric. So a lot of Bitcoin maxis were like dropping out of it. But Tone Vase was on a panel with Craig Wright. And he's like, I'm not going to drop out, guys. Like, nobody's here to speak for Bitcoin. I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to this fucktard and figure out what's going on. Like, he just went on the panel. The panel was like 45 minutes long. Everybody fought with everybody. Like, it was amazing. It was just a panel where it's in the show notes. You want to see it. It's on Tone Vase Twitter. But what was awesome was he showed up to the panel with a shirt that said, "We are all Craig Wright." Or I'm sorry, it said, "We are all Satoshi Nakamoto." And then it said in parentheses, "except for Craig S. Wright."
That's awesome.
He wore that on the stage and sat next to Craig Wright. And there's this great picture of him just like staring him down. I don't know what you think about Tone Vase. Like I said, the guy's like a technical analyst. One of the ones that like made the most sense. He won a bunch of money off Doug Polk by saying like Bitcoin's he's a guy who loves Bitcoin and told him it was gonna drop massively, and Doug like bet him $10,000 that it wouldn't, and then he lost. So yeah, check out the panel. It was amazing. At some point, Craig Wright even said that like the way he said it, it was either that he was claiming that there are only two options, or he was claiming that there's another option. He's saying that Satoshi plagiarized his white paper is one of like the options now. So it sounds like he's doing the thing where he's trying to, morph the narrative a little bit. He kept saying he was Satoshi or whatever, but I can't remember his exact wording, but it was like either I created it or Satoshi plagiarized it from me. And then he said that some university would release something in
Oh,
a couple of years to show that it was true.
Oh, any second now. Yeah, they're going to release another thing.
Yeah,
How does
it's
this,
coming.
And why is he still getting invited, actually? That part's obnoxious, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's up with the organizers? Like,
I don't know. If I was organizing a conference, he would be number one person that I would invite, and I would do this. I would put him on a bunch of panels with people that are going to eviscerate him.
yeah.
That's exactly what I would do.
I would put him in between Charles Hoskinson, Vitalik Buterin, Charlie Lee. Like, just have
No. Like, they aren't going to eviscerate him. That's the problem. Like, they're going to be like Well, Charles might. Charles would probably tear him apart. But I would put like David Sonstable on there or something. Like, just people who are going to completely obliterate him. Yeah, nobody who's like part of the public image of a company that has to kind of be professional. None of that. It would be only not those people. So yeah, we would maybe we need to make that.
You got to get the crypto burners in there. They'll tell them how it is.
The crypto burners. What is that?
I don't know. I remember going to the CIS blockchain conference or whatever a couple years ago, and there were dudes that were like dressed in the weirdest garb. They like they had to like dress up with like a cowboy hat and boots, and they'd have like a belt buckle, and then they'd be walking around like they were professional, but they were like kind of like clearly like of the like burning. They're still like basically the sentiment that I got was these guys got stupid rich from Bitcoin, and then they also took that and went to Burning Man, kind of like what's the guy's name? Brock
was on this panel.
Yeah, like that. Like
he didn't say anything. He just sat there and was like, yeah. At one point, he was just like, "Wow, this is the best panel I've ever been on."
Yeah, it's like the crypto burners. There's a sect that exists, and they just have a funny fashion style sense. And
burners, like they smoke. Okay,
no, Burning Man. Oh my God, Brent, get with the times.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, this sounds hilarious.
Okay. Anyway, that's it for the content of the show. I want to take a second about Patreon. Got a couple new Patreon numbers that I want to mention. Sir Thomas 1111 has joined at the second tier, and at Aesthetic Senpai has joined that tier as well. They're both in the Discord. We popped in there. Already been chatting it up with them. So thanks for joining the Patreon again, guys. And then of course we have all of our patrons that we appreciate everything. And I do finally have my private key my seed phrase for MetaMask. So those tokens will actually go out in the next couple of days. So sorry, that was harder than I thought. I didn't even realize that I rebooted my computer or I like did the soft reset because it was just being annoying, and I forgot that MetaMask was in there. So anyway, we're good, and those are now officially going out, and they will go out instantaneously as soon as I get your addresses now. And there are going to be some more things coming to Patreon soon, as well as the ability to sponsor 101 episodes as a patron. So those that are on that Masternode tier, one of the other pieces of your puzzle is you are going to be able to. So our 101 episodes, I'm working on a way to try and get them out, redo the old ones that suck, and get them on a new website and everything like that. And one of the things that I'm thinking is that each one will have like a sponsorship piece where eToro could sponsor it or something like that. But
maybe not eToro.
Shit product. Anyway, no, I'm sure their exchange is fine. They're like the Robinhood of Europe. But the Patreon members will be able to take those sponsorship spots. So like it'll be kind of like this. There will be 50 coins that we would possibly do a 101 on. And if you want to push that up, you can just say, this is where I'm using my sponsorship, and you will be sponsoring the entire episode as a Masternode player. So that'll work. So anyway, that is it for the show, and I will have more information about that later. I've been literally just writing that down in a notebook, and I'm going to figure out a way to make it work. So, all right. Any other parting thoughts, gents?
Nope. Yeah. Kareem, you want to say anything about what we are not?
Financial advisors, everybody. The only one here that knows his finances is Chairman Brent.
No. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows what they're
if
doing.
I knew
guys.
anything about finances, we wouldn't be losing so much damn money on this podcast.
He wouldn't have turned down eToro. You know, they're like, "Hey, can we advertise?" He's like, $1 million.
He's like, yeah, a seven-figure deal.
like,
Seven-figure deal.
Let me tell you what I did. I said that they could name the Crypto Basic Studios to the eToro Studios for $150,000 for life. Like, I was shooting for the fucking fences with these guys. So I apologize. I miscalculated on that one. We could have had a little bit of money so that this podcast would stand well. But I'm happy to be kept afloat by the Crypto Basic patrons.
All right. Well, I guess I'll see you gentlemen next week. And yeah, have a good week, everyone.
Sayonara.